Ivanka Trump, taxpayer employee.
She sounds a bit like her dad in her speech patterns.
I mean, that's not terribly
No,
surprising.
it's, well,
But here she is explaining how she, there's so much transparency and so much distance between her and her financial assets.
The applause was still echoing in the hall when Ivanka leaned into her microphone, her smile sharp and polished. "You can't prove anything," she said, each word placed with delicate precision. The crowd gave that uneasy half laugh people make when they think a moment has just closed. Across the desk, Jasmine Crockett remained still, letting the sentence linger under the lights and hang in the silence of the cameras. Then, without any dramatic motion, she reached under the table and pulled out a thick cream-colored envelope. She placed it down with a soft, deliberate thud, the sound precise enough for every lens to catch. Trump scoffed, the host shuffled through a new card, and Ivanka's eyes darted once toward the envelope's red string seal. Jasmine calmly slid it toward the center of the desk with 2 fingers. "I'm not here to win an argument," she said evenly. "I'm here to match words against the record."
Looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States.
The LED wall behind them shifted from bright show graphics to a blank black screen as a document camera clicked on. Jasmine unfastened the red string and slid the first page beneath the lens. The letterhead, docket number, and file stamp gleamed under the studio lights. "Public records," she said evenly, "obtained through lawful requests. The story you've told on air, on stage, and in print, versus the paperwork your team signed when the cameras weren't rolling." Murmurs rippled across the audience. Ivanka kept her smile, though the tightness at its corners betrayed the strain. Jasmine laid out a clear grid. On one side, quotes about spontaneity and authenticity, about life unscripted. On the other, time-stamped call sheets, audience lock notes, and directives for editing. "You said these were rumors," Jasmine continued without raising her voice. "So let's remove rumor from the room." She tapped the next sheet, an email chain with names partially redacted but timestamps intact. The notes read, "If pressed, pivot to philanthropy. Do not engage specifics." Another listed pre-approved talking points. No unscripted Q and A. The crowd didn't gasp. They did something more unusual. They listened. Ivanka leaned closer, still composed. "Coordinating an appearance is not a crime," Jasmine nodded. "Agreed." The concession landed with weight. "But calling every uncomfortable fact gossip while your own paperwork contradicts your words, that isn't coordination. That's choreography." She slid forward a notarized declaration, a scheduler's statement confirming that supposed spontaneous moments had been blocked down to the minute. Then a vendor invoice linking family presents to FE escalators for 3 major events. Then a memo instructing the production team to avoid the word rumor whenever documentation existed. None of it was loud, but all of it built. Trump waved his hand. "Boring. Nobody cares about paperwork." Jasmine lifted the envelope's lower half, revealing a slim flash drive sealed in plastic. "Then let's talk about sound," she said, nodding to the control room. The LED wall filled with a glowing waveform and a date. It wasn't a private hot mic, but a broadcasted segment. The clip played as it had aired. A claim repeated 3 times, each repetition stronger than the last. The next slide showed internal notes from that same day, recommending softer language until verification. On the right, the aired script shone clearly, harder, not softer. The host finally broke in. "Congresswoman, where does this go?" Jasmine didn't look away from Ivanka. "Nowhere near children," she said first, drawing a visible line. "And exactly where adults put their signatures." She tapped the envelope with a fingertip. "You told me I couldn't prove anything. I'm not proving a scandal. I'm proving a pattern. When truth was inconvenient, you called it a rumor. When optics were fragile, you rewrote reality. When asked for receipts, you said there were none. She gestured toward the camera. They're right here. Ivanka's smile held, but it shifted. Less portrait, more person. You're twisting context, she countered, and on another night it might have worked. Jasmine slid one last page beneath the lens. The show's own standards, printed in plain font. Assume microphones are live at all times. Content uttered on set may be used at editorial discretion. She didn't comment, she simply let the word stand. Then she gathered the stack with care, placed each sheet back into the envelope, and tied the red string into a neat figure 8. You said I can't prove anything, she repeated, her voice low enough to make the microphones hum. I don't need to prove everything. I need to prove enough. She set the envelope in the center of the desk like a gavel waiting to fall. Enough to show the difference between a narrative and a record. Enough for people at home to trust their ears over anyone's smile. Trump reached for volume, but the audience didn't follow. The host stared at a question card that no longer mattered. Ivanka's eyes stayed on the envelope, as though measuring it against every easier night she'd ever had. Jasmine didn't press. She simply gave the final line. Clean. Decisive. Rumor talks,